Alright. We're just going to do this quickly because we only have 2 movies.
Yeah.
And an interesting couple they are.
And we're splitting years, too, which is something you hate doing.
Yeah, but we're actually going to start with That Awkward Moment, which is the movie from this year.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go back.
So we're literally going to go back in time.
In case that confuses people, Labor Day actually had a limited run at the very end of December to qualify for awards, which it got 1 Globe nomination. So, good idea, Paramount. But and then it just got a wide release today.
Yes, correct.
So most people will probably think that Labor Day is actually a movie from this year, but it isn't.
No.
We're going to start with That Awkward Moment, which is probably not what you're expecting it to be.
No, definitely not.
Because, well, for starters, I knew we were in for something interesting because of the opening credits. Now, you generally see these production. If you go to the movies enough, you probably know the production companies by heart now and know their logos and stuff like that. Well, the credits come up and we hear Efron narrating. And while this narration's going on, these production companies are coming up.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it, there's something in my throat. I noticed 2 production companies that I had not recognized before.
Okay.
There was one called Ninjas Runnin' Wild Productions, and the other one was What If It Barks Productions.
I saw that one, yeah.
So that basically clued me in that this movie might be possibly a little more indie than people are expecting, especially because the main distributor is Focus.
Yeah.
Focus movies generally don't go wide. Sometimes they do, but it's not often.
No, especially in this area.
And as far as the title is concerned, I didn't think about that till about halfway through the movie when I realized it feels... There's parts that feel like a mainstream raunchy comedy, which is how it was advertised.
Correct.
But for the most part, it feels really indie. Like it should not have been a mainstream movie.
Like I said, if you look at the cast, and that should tell you right there that you're not looking for an indie, and anything more than an indie performance. But
I think the original plan probably would have been to be a slightly more indie movie because the original title of this movie, I think, was "Are We Officially Dating?"
Nice.
But what I think they did was they realized that Zac Efron was in their movie.
Yes.
I mean, you have Michael B. Jordan from Fruitvale, and you have Miles Teller from The Spectacular Now, among other things. He's like blowing up. That Whiplash movie's going to be big, probably. But they knew they had Efron, so they were going to use that. Especially since he's building up on Neighbors, too. So it appears they took the title, Are We Officially Dating? And just took random popular catchphrase, make it our title so we can make it mainstream.
Yeah.
I think that was the only process to make it mainstream. So the movie starts, and I can tell its sense of humor is going to be something that might... It knows that it might go over people's heads because... And this was awesome the way they did this. One of the first scenes is Michael B. Jordan walking in, and his wife is there to confront him about her affair.
Yes.
And her lawyer is there, the lawyer that is the guy she's having an affair with. And I swear to God, when I first saw him, I had to do a double take to make sure it wasn't Morris Chestnut. And sure enough, after this scene, the next scene is them playing Seinfeld in the diner.
No lie.
The 3 of them are there. And Michael B. Jordan says the words, "Man, he looked like Morris Chestnut." And as soon as I said in my head, I wonder who in here knows Morris Chestnut by name. Miles Teller's character says, "Who the fuck is Morris Chestnut?" So I was like, wow, this movie really knows what it is and where it is.
Yeah, completely.
Which made me realize, I think that's the part where I realized maybe this isn't exactly what it was advertised as. Because I don't think... No mainstream raunchy comedy is going to call Morris Chestnut by his name.
It's true.
And of course he used Boys in the Hood as a point of reference.
That was nice.
That's what I always used to when I have to explain who he is. But no, that's not without... and here's the problem, though. Even though I'm saying it seems indie and it's not exactly as mainstream as it looks, as pretentious as that sounds, I guess, this movie is not without mainstream qualities.
Yeah.
The one I'm mainly referring to is this plot. Basically what the plot is, I didn't really know what the plot was going in, but obviously Michael B. Jordan's wife has cheated on him. It's weird to say his full name like that. I don't have a short name to call him.
Yeah.
And he plays a guy named Mike, go figure. So his wife wants a divorce, and now he's doing the depressed thing. And he's doing, he's doing Jason Segel at the beginning of Sarah Marshall.
Yeah.
So they vow, Miles Teller and Zac Efron vow as his best friends that the three of them are going to stay single, and they're basically going to make it a bet. It's like a reverse American Pie.
Yeah.
So, right then and there, if you've seen enough movies, you pretty much know where it's going to go from there, all the way to the end. And you're going to be right. But, you know, there is the thing where, you know, cliches are fine as long as it's the ride there to shake things up, even if you have a story that's going to go in all predictable directions. I think this movie works a lot.
Yeah.
It's really, this might sound weird coming from me because of how much I hate on this guy. I'm strictly talking about him as a writer-director. If you've seen any of his movies, this movie is a lot like an Edward Burns movie. The movies he did, like The Brothers McMullen and She's the One and The Groomsman, all of which are worth checking out. I think he also did Sidewalks in New York. It felt a lot like those movies. Especially, the scenes in the diner were very Brothers McMullen-y. And their relationship in general is a lot like The Groomsman. But they do still have these, and something that really, well actually before we go into that I'll talk about, there are a couple of, a few raunchy gags, like the, I won't try to give them away too much. The one, I think it's in the trailer, the one about, but they don't say how in the trailer, they just say that it is. Michael B. Jordan used,
Self-tanner?
Yeah, self-tanner to jerk off with, and it made his dick orange. And that's a running gag. That seems like something that would be in a regular raunchy comedy.
Yeah, definitely.
There is a particular scene where girls going into this might get what they want, but in the weirdest way possible.
Yeah, very much so.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you, girls that are watching this, or gay men, if you're into Zac Efron, he is nude in this movie. It's only ass, but the way this goes about, okay, obviously Miles Teller's plan is for all of them to take Viagra, so that, I believe his exact words were, so we can drink like Keith Richards for 4 hours and still be hard.
Yep.
Well, it turns out because of that, they're still hard in the morning, and they have a certain way of going to the bathroom to
relieve the pressure
while dealing with this.
Yes.
And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, you need to see it for yourself, trust me.
And there's another gag involving it is like he said, it is something like out of a classic screwball comedy, only a little dirtier. There's a slight miscommunication regarding a dress-up party that Efron is invited to.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yes.
But it does also have those indie feelings, like Josh Pryce, who is he a lot of people don't like. You see this guy all the time. He's basically, if you see that guy that you probably call in your head Discount Ben Stiller, and you see him in most indie movies, you'll know who I'm talking about. He was Kristen Stewart's dad in Adventureland. Mm-hmm. Most people don't realize he was the original Raphael in the first Ninja Turtles movie.
Yep. And
to date, he is the only actor to play a Ninja Turtle as a voice and in the suit. He is in this movie as a co-worker of theirs, and his name is Fred. And you know this because every scene of his involves him walking up to them saying, "Hey, it's Fred." And he's one of those weird indie characters.
He reminds me of David Cross a bit, too.
Yeah, in his voice, you mean?
Yeah.
And they have their job. It's Michael B. Jordan works at a hospital, but Miles Teller and Zac Efron's job is to design book covers. I found that to be a very, like when you watch indie movies and it's almost like the writer-director says, I want them to have the quirkiest, most random job I can think of.
Kevin Smith on line 1.
So there's that. But when the problems really start to set in, apart from the fact that I said it's basically, you can basically know every move of it ahead of time. This is one of those movies where, like I said, this is where it really comes in, where it might not be what you're expecting. For the type of movie it is, it gets serious a little too much. I know it's a weird criticism, but with how raunchy some of the gags get, and how heavy they try to make some of the drama, it felt unbalanced. Yes.
Yeah, I agree completely.
So, I don't know. The movie is funny.
Yes.
And that's why it would be worth seeing. But something about it still feels off.
Mm-hmm.
But I still can't, apart from that slight unbalance of comedy and drama, I can't quite. And you get one of those, this is probably a spoiler, but like I said, if you didn't see it coming from a mile away, then this is probably the third movie you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Obviously, with this kind of plot, there's going to be a big reveal scene. And it felt really out of place because this is one of those movies that seemed smarter than this. So it was really disappointing to see this. That moment in the movies where, like, all of the big lies and the big mistrusts are going to be revealed, and somehow all the characters in the movie manage to find themselves in one place in a really contrived way. It does that.
That scene is in the trailer.
Oh, is it?
The setup for that scene is in the trailer.
That's why I don't watch you anymore trailers.
Yes.
So, not that it matters, because like I said, as soon as the plot is revealed, you can play the whole movie out in your head.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically gotten. This probably would not have been a wide release if they weren't using Zac Efron's face to sell it, and maybe Miles Teller because they tried. He had that great cameo in Project X, and then they put him in 21 and Over. I guess they thought they'll know him as he's doing this big indie breakout thing. Like he won a big award at Sundance for The Spectacular now, and
very deserved as well.
He's getting all these great parts. He's playing Dan Aykroyd in the Belushi movie.
Yes.
He's got this whole other life. He's like the Harvey Dent of movies. He's got one side that's indie and everything is great, and then he's got his mainstream side where it's supposed to be like, hey, I think that's that guy from that drinking movie. Efron's not without his indie credit.
Nope.
Liberal arts.
Yes, the words is great.
If you happen to find liberal arts, it has Josh Radnor and Elizabeth Olsen in it. It's not that great, but it's worth watching just for the scenes of Efron. Maybe they're just on YouTube by themselves. Just search Zac Efron liberal arts. Those scenes are great.
This stuff is gold.
A moment. Yes, I had to double think that if that was even the name of the movie. Yeah, it is.
I definitely remember it's called Liberal Arts.
Okay, good. We saw that movie in a theater and I almost forgot the name of it.
Yeah.
How bad is that? So yeah, I've never heard of this writer-director, but he's very, I said, apart from being very Burnsy, it's one of those, it doesn't feel like any, I mean, with the exception of a few clever lines and setups, the movie doesn't feel like anything new at all. So
that's his filmography.
It's his first time writing and his first time directing, and he was a co-producer on movie 43.
Yep.
Well, okay, if you see that, the movie is better than that leads you to believe.
Completely.
It does feel like a first script.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those. Well, if you've seen enough, like, you know, indie directors doing their first movie, you can tell it feels a lot like that. It's a very, even if there hadn't been a credit at the beginning, I would have assumed it was a writer-director behind it. So, that's pretty much that. It's worth it for the laughs, but, you know, as a movie as a whole, there's, I don't know. It's alright.
It's one of those things you don't know when you're going to get a good comedy. I know we're just getting now into February now, and January, the first month of the year is already over. Went by so fast, too. And we're going to start getting into comedies like this, but I mean, I don't see at this point, like, where we're going to go. Like, it seems like we're not going to get any different. Like, there's always going to be the same comedy every single time, and some people are going to like it, some people are not.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
So, we're just going to speed right along. That only took me 16 minutes.
Wow.
So the next one is obviously Labor Day.
We're going back to next year.
You mean last year?
Certainly.
Labor Day comes out in 2015. We're really, really ahead of the jump.
Yes, we are.
Alright. I already knew this movie front to back before we went in because I read the book it's based on, and I also read Jason Reitman's script because I was curious how he wrote.
Yeah.
But he didn't really add anything. It's pretty much straight from the book. This movie actually got a lot of negative attention. Apart from, obviously, Winslet's Globe nomination, but apart from that, that may have just been the token, hey, we need a fifth actress. Hey, Kate Winslet had a movie this year.
Yeah.
So, basically, it's kind of, the trailer might throw you off a little bit, because the trailer is very odd.
Yeah.
And it makes the story look weirder than it is. Here's the difference. What you might see in the trailer is, obviously they go to the store, and Winslet is kind of a hermit.
Yes.
Because of some traumatic experience that's revealed later. So they go to the store, and then the kid runs into Brolin, and Brolin is this escaped convict who is bleeding, and he's trying to hide. So he says, I need to get a ride, and then he takes the kid by the neck and says, this has to happen.
I thought he had a gun. In the trailer, it's what looked like he had a gun, but he never does.
This is what the trailer made it look, I thought anyway. I thought the trailer made it look like it was like a love at first sight thing, because it never gave the dark tones of it, I thought.
No.
The whole trailer was very romanticized and happy. And, yeah, all
At the back of someone's neck, this needs to happen.
Because when he says, the way the trailer does it, when he says this needs to happen, they almost make it like it's a romantic thing between them.
Yeah.
But no, in the movie, it's supposed to be, for like the first half of the movie, we're not supposed to know if Brolin's a major threat or not.
Yeah.
Because he could just be a rather smooth talker that's very threatening. But, you know, the trailer basically tells you, of course, and it's not really a Stockholm thing, it's like a for real love thing.
Yeah.
Making it a Stockholm thing might have been a lot more interesting, but...
Potentially.
So basically we start there, and Brolin I couldn't get this out of my head. The place that Brolin's wound is, because he said he was like about to get his appendix taken out in the hospital while he was in prison.
Yes.
And he jumped out the hospital window and ran away.
Yes.
So I guess they were almost in there when he decided to jump out, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe.
They didn't explain what the wound was exactly. We see it later. It's like a cross, so there's that.
Because now infected.
But he's wearing that same shirt all the time, and it's got the blood coming out of here. The only thing I could think of was, that's exactly the same place he gets wounded at the end of Hollow Man. And Elizabeth Shue wraps it up in duct tape.
Yeah.
So, every time I saw the blood on the shirt, I was thinking, put some fucking duct tape on that. It helped last time.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a reference or not. I don't know if this is what the author was thinking. Because she never brings it up. I kept thinking that Frank Chambers was an alias.
Okay.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong here, but I'm thinking Frank Chambers is the name of the main character in The Postman Always Rings Twice. But no, apparently we're supposed to assume that's his name. I guess it's just maybe she doesn't even know the person always rings twice. Maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't know, but it doesn't mean anything. His name is just Frank Chambers. Yeah, that's what I thought.
One more point for you, AJ.
Yeah, the original with John Garfield too. So it pretty much goes from there. It got a bad reputation also because a lot of people thought it looked like a Nicholas Sparks movie.
Yeah.
But Joyce Maynard wrote the book. I don't know what else she's done, but or what else she's written. But obviously, something to point out is the fact that this movie is Jason Reitman. Jason Reitman's other movies were Thank You for Smoking, Juno, Up in the Air, and Young Adult. I think that's it. So this is his fifth one. This does not feel like a Reitman movie. I mean, some of it does, like every now and then, but for the most part, it doesn't feel like a Reitman movie. I don't know what it feels like. It's not how I pictured it.
No.
The whole everything is hot and everybody is like glistening in sweat for 2 hours thing. I found that kind of weird, and I'm not sure why he went with that choice, but maybe to give the summer vibe, I guess. I guess this movie mainly is talked about because of the performances, what good things you hear. Because you have Winslet and Brolin, who are obviously extremely capable, and Jason Reitman's obviously very good with actors. And you have small, first off, I'll talk about, Winslet is really good.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I think she's always reliable. She has her haters, obviously, but I've always liked her, and I'm sure she has bad performances somewhere, but I can't put my finger on one at the moment, so. And of course Brolin is. This is kind of like if Llewellyn Moss was an escaped convict.
Yeah.
More or less. He's resourceful the way Llewellyn is, and he's got the same. He
has the same demeanor too.
Like, he's not going to take any of your shit, but he is full of love somewhere. kind of thing. That's... Yeah, because I wanted to come out of this saying, oh my god, Brolin was great. How did he, miss Oscar nominations and all that? That's... I couldn't help but think he just kind of went back into Llewellyn Moss territory here, and that's... I didn't really see much else. Except maybe when I got closer to the end. Okay. A couple of problems I have now. There is... Well, we'll talk about... Okay, we'll finish the cast while I'm here. This review's really messy. Sorry if you came here just for the Labor Day review, this sucks. We get a J.K. Simmons cameo.
The cameo train continues.
It's a Reitman movie, so of course he's in it.
Yes.
Because he was Juno's dad, and he was one of the guys getting fired and Up in the Air.
Yes.
And it's another Coen Brothers connection, so there's that too. Clark Gregg is the kid's Henry's dad, and his new wife or girlfriend. I think did they get remarried? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Alexi Gilmore from World's Greatest Dad, and his stepbrother is the kid from Moonrise Kingdom that got stabbed with the scissors.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the fact that James Van Der Beek's in this movie.
Yeah.
He's not there very often. He's got the one scene. That's basically this is one of those movies. It has a lot of recognizable faces, but it's basically a 3-character movie with recognizable faces having one scene each throughout it. So he has like one big scene towards the end, but it's not really Van Der Beek showing us anything, it's not like a big breakout like, being in a Payne movie or a Tarantino movie or anything, but it's, maybe it'll get him out there. Yeah. Maybe Reitman will get him in a bigger role a little later. There's this guy named Tom Lipinski, I think is his name.
Correct.
This guy plays the young Frank, the younger version of Brolin. As far as I know, he and Brolin are not related in real life. And there was no makeup applied to this guy whatsoever. He just naturally looks that much like Brolin.
Yeah.
And that is really creepy.
Indeed it is.
Wherever they found that guy, he was actually on, I think, that one show that Megan Good was on. I think he was in a couple of episodes of that. And Tobey Maguire is in this. Tobey Maguire is the adult version of Henry, and he's telling us the story in flashback, basically. He's the narrator, basically, but he's also on screen. I may have missed something here and there, but I'm pretty sure we didn't see Tobey Maguire say a line on screen.
No, he didn't say a thing.
It was just his whole narration, and every time we saw him in the movie, he was just doing shit.
He walks into the kitchen, and that's it. That's his screen time.
And he does a couple of spoilery things, too.
Yeah. I'll talk about that.
So, oh shit, I forgot to mention the cameo at the end of that awkward moment.
Yes.
Well, if you came here just for that awkward moment, you're already gone, sorry. There's a cameo at the very end during the gag reel.
Yeah, there is. Nice callback to Cedar Rapids.
God, we were like, this Labor Day review's all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay, so the things I didn't like about it is what I was talking about.
Yes.
Okay, because I think I went through the whole cast list that's worth talking about.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies where it's kind of like what I was talking about with Saving Mr. Banks. Obviously, I've talked about there's a young Frank.
Uh-huh.
So clearly we have flashbacks as to how Frank got to be in the position that he's in now.
Yes, this is full of flashbacks.
Yeah.
Which I know you love so much.
This is the problem, though, is the flashbacks are not really a story. They're not really there to enhance the story.
No, not
They're there to be blatant foreshadowing.
Oh yeah.
Because I won't tell you what it is because it's a spoiler, obviously, but we keep seeing the same shot of an overflowing bathtub. Now you can do that once, and we can tell something awful happened. It's some type of foreshadowing. But you need to show this again, and you need to keep hinting at these things over and over again. What's the point of them even happening later?
Yeah.
They really didn't need to be there. It really could have just been, this is the way the book did it, obviously. The book's not going to say, hey, an overflowing bathtub's going to be important later. I'm just going to throw this in here. It was, the story just went as it was, and then the flashbacks were just all in one place by themselves. So we get flashbacks from both their ends. So
yeah.
To see how they both got to where they are. That I thought was not great, which is really bad because it comes from a director as great as Reitman is.
Mm-hmm.
Because these four right in a row with Thank You for Smoking, Juno, Up in the Air, and Young Adult. Because Juno's like one of my favorite movies of all time, and of the other three are very good. I think Thank You for Smoking might be a little overrated, but Up in the Air is great, and Young Adult was really good.
Yeah, it was.
This is still good on a certain level. Mm-hmm. It's not a bad movie, unlike the major old people talkers that were right in front of us.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you. In case you're one of them, sorry if you are. I just sorry for the people you live with if you are. But if this is one of those things, if you're one of those people that might get bummed out by this, there were some people in the theater that seemed very surprised by how depressing some of the subject matter is.
True.
It's not like a full-on, constantly depressing movie. But there are a couple of parts where if you're like easily emotional or easily affected by things, might disturb you or bother you. They're not violent things, kind of, but they're more so just disturbing things. So, without saying, too much.
Yeah.
I actually think it works. A lot of people think it's way too sappy. And sure, it's sappy, but actually I think the sappy stuff actually kind of works. Like, I actually, even as weird and far-fetched as it seems, I actually kind of like the story. The whole thing. I mean, I know it sounds weird when you just say a convict just happened to ask for a ride and she basically complied. And it just happened.
Yeah.
But something about the way it unfolds somehow makes it a little more I'm not going to say fully believable, but more believable than you would initially expect. So, yeah. So yeah, I'd recommend both of these to an extent. I'm not like wholeheartedly recommending either one, but I'm not saying to avoid either one. So
no, don't avoid them.
Whatever. So I think that's about that.
Speaking of 2013, we're getting another dose of what could have happened in 2013 next week with the Monuments Men coming out finally. And
yeah, this is the time of year where we get all the shit that was supposed to be last year.
Yeah, exactly. And so, mild recommendation for both of them.
Pretty much.
And I agree completely because I did enjoy both of them for what they were. So, any parting words for this all over the place review?
I think that's it.